Could you survive as Daredevil? Blind, surrounded by crime, fighting ninjas by night, and somehow still making it to your day job as a lawyer. In this video, we're breaking down how Matt Murdock's insane senses work, what science says about them, and if you could ever come close. Smash that like button like it's a hallway full of goons, and subscribe before Bullseye notices you. Let's go. If radioactive waste could give you powers, would you take that gamble? Daredevil's journey starts with a tragic accident. Young Matt Murdock loses his sight after saving a man from a truck carrying mysterious chemicals. Yeah, don't try this at home. But in a twist straight out of a Marvel script, it also gives him superhuman senses. Under the grumpy but wise guidance of Stick, think Yoda with less patience, Matt trains in martial arts. His combat style becomes a wild mix of boxing, taught by his father, and deadly martial arts like Kung Fu and Silat. Basically, he could probably beat you up with a stick while blindfolded and listening to a podcast. In both the comics and Netflix series, Stick helps Matt hone his senses into powerful tools. We're not just talking muscle.
I've got all day, kid.
Matt's mental discipline turns him into the ultimate urban ninja. But what about the science? Can losing one sense really upgrade the others like a real-life RPG character? That's next.
Break.
All right, let's break this down. How can someone who can't see punch a guy coming from behind, dodge a bullet, okay, maybe not literally, and detect someone lying, all in the dark? The answer? Neuroplasticity. Or as I like to call it, the brain's magical ability to say, "Don't worry, I got this." When someone loses their sight, especially early in life, the brain doesn't just shut down the lights and call it a day. It reallocates resources. Basically, it reassigns the visual cortex to help boost other senses like hearing, touch, smell, and even memory. It's like if your roommate stopped paying rent and you turned their room into a home gym instead. Studies using fMRI scans show that in blind individuals, the occipital lobe, that's the brain's visual processing center, lights up like a Christmas tree when doing things like reading Braille or locating sounds. So, yes, their brains are literally rewiring themselves to become more efficient in other areas. Now here's where things get really wild. Echolocation. No, not just for bats and dolphins. There are real-life humans, blind humans, who use clicks, snaps, or cane taps to bounce sound off surfaces and mentally map their surroundings. One of the most famous cases is Daniel Kish, who lost his sight as a baby and taught himself to use echolocation so effectively that he can ride a bike in traffic. A bike in traffic without sight. Meanwhile, I still bump into furniture with all five senses. In ideal conditions, quiet surroundings, clear obstacles, this human echolocation can detect walls, doors, and even thin poles from several meters away. Some trained individuals can even estimate the shape and texture of objects based on the echo return. It's basically sonar, but you don't need a submarine license. And it's not just hearing. Touch becomes hypersensitive too. Blind people tend to have heightened tactile acuity, like feeling subtle textures or temperature changes. It's the reason why Braille works so well, and why Matt Murdock in the comics can read printed letters by feeling the ink impressions with his fingertips. Unrealistic? A little. Cool? Absolutely. And yes, smell also improves. Some studies suggest blind individuals can detect more odor nuances than sighted people. It's not exactly a superpower, but hey, imagine being able to identify someone by cologne alone, like it's CSI. Daredevil. Of course, in the comics and shows, this is all wrapped into Daredevil's iconic radar sense. It's like a 360-degree awareness system built from sound, smell, and vibration. While science hasn't quite reached that level of full-body GPS, the core idea isn't as far-fetched as it seems. But this brings us to the next question. It's one thing to hear a pin drop. It's another to beat up 10 armed men in a hallway. Let's talk about the people who try to stop Daredevil, and usually fail. All right, you've got the senses, you've got the training, but who's actually dumb enough to pick a fight with a blind guy who hears heartbeats and knows Kung Fu? Enter Daredevil's enemies, a colorful blend of mobsters, assassins, ninjas, and psychopaths with accuracy issues. Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. Let's start with the big boss, literally. Kingpin is basically what happens if you mix a sumo wrestler with a chess master. He's not just muscle, he's a ruthless tactician who controls half of New York's crime world. In most versions, he's huge, strong enough to toss grown men like laundry baskets, but smart enough to manipulate entire police forces. His battles with Matt Murdock are more psychological than physical. Fisk doesn't just break bones, he breaks spirits. And when they do fight, it's brutal. Fisk swings like a wrecking ball, and Matt has to dodge, block, and use leverage just to survive. It's brains versus brute force, with a lot of broken ribs in between. Bullseye, the human sniper, Daredevil's arch nemesis and the king of creative murder. Give this man a paperclip, a peanut, or a toothpick, and he'll turn it into a deadly weapon. He's the yin to Daredevil's yang, precise, cold, and just unhinged enough to be terrifying. In one of their most famous battles, Bullseye hurls a playing card with such force and accuracy it pierces skin like a knife. Their rooftop fights are legendary, Matt relying on agility and prediction, Bullseye on deadly precision. One mistake and it's game over. The Hand, ninja cult from hell. A mystical, centuries-old ninja clan that makes the Foot Clan from Ninja Turtles look like a middle school karate class. They don't just fight with swords and magic, they resurrect themselves because dying is too mainstream. The Hand is the source of some of Daredevil's darkest story arcs, especially in the comics and the Netflix series. These guys pop out of shadows, climb walls like spiders, and wear red pajamas of death. Fighting them requires Daredevil to go full-on Batman mode, stealth, smarts, and lots of punching. So yes, Daredevil fights some of the most dangerous enemies in the Marvel Universe, and he does it without sight, without super strength, and often without backup. Just a stick, some bandages, and a stubborn refusal to give up. Next up, can you actually fight like that? Here's a fun fact. Becoming Daredevil-level skilled would take you at least a decade of non-stop training. Yes, even if you watch YouTube tutorials on double speed. Matt mixes boxing, Krav Maga, Kali sticks, you name it. MMA fighters train up to 6 hours a day to master just one or two disciplines. Matt? He's the buffet of martial arts, but it's not just muscle memory. His enhanced proprioception, his ability to sense body position, gives him an edge. Even for us mortals, specific exercises can boost reaction time, coordination, and peripheral vision. It won't make you Daredevil, but it might help you dodge your cat knocking over a glass. Then there's mental training. Matt's mindfulness and meditation techniques aren't just for chill vibes, they help him stay laser-focused. Harvard studies show meditation literally grows the parts of your brain responsible for learning and memory. That's not fiction, that's science. But even if you train like Rocky meets Batman, can science fully explain Daredevil's reality? Could science actually create a real-life Daredevil? Short answer, kind of. Could a blind person develop super senses? Definitely, to an extent. Real-world examples of echolocation and enhanced spatial awareness prove the brain is freakishly adaptable. Could someone become a martial arts expert with lightning reflexes? Absolutely, with years of dedication and probably some bruises. But the full Daredevil package? That's where fiction kicks in. Unless, of course, you throw in some tech. With advancements in bioengineering and neural implants, we're inching closer to augmenting human perception. Projects like Neuralink are exploring ways to enhance sensory input. Who knows, maybe future Daredevils won't need radioactive goo. The point is, science doesn't quite back a full Daredevil yet, but it's not entirely out of reach. The real superpower might just be determination, and maybe a good pair of boxing gloves. At the end of the day, Daredevil's story isn't just about powers. It's about turning pain into strength, about mastering your mind and body. Science shows us that human potential is bigger than we think, whether through natural adaptation, intense training, or futuristic tech. So what would you do to unlock your hidden abilities? Maybe your journey doesn't start with radioactive sludge, but with pushing your own limits. As Matt Murdock said, "A man without hope is a man without fear."